And so I felt like I didn't realize it at the time, but my daughter Kenadie across the veil, I've learned how to live connected to her in a totally different way. And so, but before I realized I could connect with her, she was already guiding us to mentors and to modalities and different things that could help us heal our broken hearts and learn how to connect with her. And, all from mediumship and energy healing to, gosh, sound baths and all these things. I grew up in a tiny little farm town in Washington State. This stuff is very foreign to me. And I just felt closer to her. It was a path to reconnect with her. And she guided me right. I mean, I just prayed and prayed, like, please help me find you, because I knew she was out there. And that's exactly what happened.
Rachel Stewart, welcome to Fear Unzipped. I am beyond delighted to have you here. And I was trying to figure out, how do I know you? And you popped into my Instagram somehow, I think because we're both connected to Suzanne Giesemann, maybe.
Oh, sure.
And I started to look at your page, and I think I was on it for an hour. What you're doing is so powerful and so important and so beautiful. And your energy, like listeners and viewers are going to get your energy right away, because you're just a beautiful person on this planet.
Thank you.
I want to give them a little background. You're a spiritual mentor, you're an intuitive guide, and the co-founder with your husband, Shane, of a healing collective called 411. That's FOR 11. And I'm getting chills just saying 411. I'm going to toss it to you. Would you give us some background about you, what you were doing before 411 came to fruition?
Sure. I want to start off by apologizing ahead of time. I'm getting over a cold, so I hope I don't have to clear my voice too much, or clear my throat too much, but I think I'll be able to get through it just fine. I do have my water and Kleenex here just in case.
You're all good.
All right. Yeah, my 411 journey has been a wild one. It started out from, a pretty tragic event of us losing our daughter Kenadie when she was 10 years old to brain cancer. And, I'm sure hopefully a lot of the listeners haven't gone through that, but I'm sure most people can imagine the heartbreak that would happen from that. I mean, just complete devastation. And we were totally lost and felt really in the dark and didn't know how to get out of it. And people gave us advice and tips and different things to try. And we tried the more traditional routes of, therapy or, even starting to attend church, which I have nothing against church, but I wasn't raised in a church and have no religious background. But I was really hoping that was going to help us in some way. And when it didn't, then we really felt lost and very alone, because now what do we do when all the normal things didn't help us at all? And so I felt like I didn't realize it at the time, but my daughter Kenadie across the veil, I've learned how to live connected to her in a totally different way. And so, but before I realized I could connect with her, she was already guiding us to mentors and to modalities and different things that could help us heal our broken hearts and learn how to connect with her. And, all from mediumship and energy healing to, gosh, sound baths and all these things. I grew up in a tiny little farm town in Washington State. This stuff is very foreign to me. And I just felt closer to her. It was a path to reconnect with her. And she guided me right. I mean, I just prayed and prayed, like, please help me find you, because I knew she was out there. And that's exactly what happened. And then she started putting this feeling in our hearts about 411. We didn't know what it was, but I remember telling my husband, there's something happening. I think we're supposed to share our story. I think we're supposed to talk about how we've healed or how we're healing. It's a journey and I think we're going to be on this healing path our whole lives, but we really felt nudged by her to start something. And my husband said, I think you're right. And it's going to be called 411, which just made sense. She started in the very beginning when she passed away, she would send us fours, like the number 4. And that was her favorite number while she was here on Earth. So we picked up on it very quickly. But then all of a sudden they changed to 11s. And that was really the symbol from her to let us know that we were on the right path. And it was a spiritual path. And so we just kept doing things for the 11s. It was like anytime we got on 11, we're like, oh, more of that. We need more 11s in our lives. And it was a guiding light from her. And so we started doing things for the 11s, and it just felt like that was the nod from her. That's what it is. And so after we decided that was the name of this new venture, we still didn't know what it was. And then we started seeing the number 411 everywhere. I mean, so that's been even though it's FOR, the nod to the number 4 is still in all the signs that she sends us. And we just love it because it's, her human aspect and her angel aspect all wrapped up in one. And we're definitely here for it. She's helping us with every step of the way. And so it's kind of evolved into, it started out as just an Instagram page. We still didn't know what we were doing with it. We literally launched it and people were like, what is it? We said, we don't know. We're just here. Like, she's telling us to do it. But now we're sharing people's stories of connection. So people are submitting their stories where, like, the goosebump stories that let us know that our loved ones still exist and that life continues after, and like love never dies. And that is proven story after story. And so we get to share those stories and put them out into the world. And it's a really great honor. And we love doing it. And that's just one kind of aspect of 411, but it's one of my favorite ones.
So you were not into metaphysics at all before. You probably never really thought about or intuition or speaking to people on the other side. So when that started coming into you, what was that like for you? And I want to say I love stories from people who were polar opposite, like Suzanne Giesemann, who came from the military. I mean, you can't be more linear left brain than that.
That's why I love her.
Oh, love her. And
yes.
Now she's one of the top 100 spiritual leaders in the world.
Yeah.
So that fascinates me. So how did you feel when you started kind of dipping your toe into the metaphysical side?
I've always been curious, but not enough to dive in. So I would say open-minded-ish is how I used to live my life. But as far as if I really believed in this stuff, I didn't even know before she passed if I believed in an afterlife. It was more of crossing my fingers and hoping that existed, because if it didn't, it was a scary thought. But I had no background in any of this at all. And after Kenadie passed, we knew of a medium. It was my friend's aunt. And so we were comfortable with her. And so we reached out. I had talked to her once before. I had won a reading with her. So, I think that was by design. So I already knew her. And then we reached out to her and said, can you please try to connect with our daughter, Kenadie? Because at that point, we just wanted proof that she still existed. And the medium made us wait a little bit. She said, let's just let everybody, settle in for a couple months. And then we reached back out and said, please do it now. She said, okay, we'll try. And Kenadie came through so brilliantly that it left us with no doubt. It was the moment. Like, I just remember my husband and I started crying. This was after the reading, and I was telling him what happened because it was just the medium and I. And there was just this moment when something happened and we both knew that she still existed. There was just no doubt. We had no questions. And then it was like this fire started building inside me. Like, there's gotta be a way. Like, I know I wasn't born with any sort of abilities that I was aware of to connect with deceased people, like the mediums. All the mediums I talked to, they have been doing that since they were born, And so I didn't think I could learn how to do that, but I thought there must be a way to feel more connected to her. And so that was the journey that I was put on. But she guided me right to Suzanne Giesman. And when she said that she wasn't born with any sort of abilities, but was trained how to connect as a medium, I was all in. So I went across the country. I took courses from Suzanne. I really dove in and found her and connected with not just Kenadie, other people's loved ones. You know, it was like the movie where I'm showering and all of a sudden there's somebody there and I'm like, what are you doing here? But I loved it. I was totally open to those sorts of experiences. And at the time I thought maybe I was going to be a practicing medium, but I don't think that's the path. I think it was the path to more of a connected life. And that's what I am excited to kind of teach other people, that everybody can live a connected life, because that's where the magic is. It's like I've got one foot planted firmly on the earth. I'm like super grounded. I love that I'm having a human experience, but I've got one foot on the other side, because that's where the magic's at. And I am totally open to as much magic flowing into my life as I can possibly muster up with my whole spirit team. And so I connect with them every single day. And it's really been a magical experience. I just can't, thinking back to 2018 when Kenadie passed away, I could never imagine a life as beautiful as the one that I'm living right now. And that's pretty awesome.
Well, it's pretty remarkable, because I think you experienced one of the hardest things a human could ever experience. I can't even imagine. And it chokes me up, when I think about it. But the beauty on the other side, that this is always there, that they're always there with us. And I liked your trajectory to get there, that it's almost better that you didn't really believe in any of this or know about any of this, because it makes it that much more palpable, and more people are going to believe it because you're proof of it. Suzanne Giesman is 1,000% proof of it. Your story is very similar. And I think there are a lot of stories that are similar to hers.
Sure.
And what about, I wanted to say, so that when you were talking about magic, I pulled this quote from you. When we started opening ourselves up to the spirituality side of life, things started feeling magical. Now we don't want to live in a world without magic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you just said.
And I know some people don't love the word magic. They don't love using that. And I'm like, oh, give me all the magic. I just don't know of a better word to use.
I love magic. And when I wake up in the morning, I say, today I am a magnet for magic.
I love that.
I'm such a believer, Rachel, in magic. Just you being here in front of me right now, to me, this is incredibly magical, because I saw you online. I just fell in love with you. I think what you and Shane are doing are incredible. And here you are with me. That's magic.
Isn't this a really cool time to be living? Where, we get messages from people all over the world that they've seen, they were guided, I feel like they're guided to the page. Like Kenadie's helping them get there. Their loved ones across the veil are helping them get there. If there's something on the page that they can benefit from, that can help their broken hearts. And so these people send these messages. I don't know how I found your page. I don't follow anything like it. But the story that I was sent to was for me, from my son. And some of these messages, there was a woman that told us she was considering committing suicide after her little guy passed away. She just couldn't imagine a world without him. And he guided her to the story that let her know that that he still exists in the world. And she let us know, and I believe she was from India. And I thought, that is so cool that she was able to find us and it's not us, but find the energy of 411, find the stories that are being put out, and the light that Kenadie is helping us put out into a world that can feel really, really dark. So I love it. I'm here for all of it.
And that's why the magic is so important, because there is a lot of chaos in the world, and we can see a lot of negativity. But if you tap into what you've tapped into, and I've had the privilege to tap into myself, I just think, oh my gosh, this is like heaven on earth.
It is.
When you tap into that space. But again, what you said is so important to be grounded, because so right now I have bare feet and I'm on a grounding mat. I always do that
Perfect.
when I'm
Yeah.
sitting in here, because, we've got to be grounded. Otherwise, you'd be floating all the time. And I don't think it would serve you well.
No, and I want to have a human experience here. Otherwise, why did I come here? So, there's going to be ups and downs. And I also like to point out that even living this connected life, I have some low days and I have some dark times. But what's really awesome is that even when it feels dark, I can still see the light. Yeah. Whereas in the beginning, it was just, I was completely engulfed and didn't know of a way out. In fact, I had a dream once and I was on this dark street and it was really scary. It was like a city scene. There were, people, drug addicts over here and a lot of homeless people. And this woman came up to me and she was very scary looking. And I said, I'm so scared because it was just so dark and I didn't know how to get out of this tough place that I had found myself in. And she said, you have to go that way. And when I turned around and looked at where she pointed at, it was pitch black. And I said, but there's no street light. I can't go that way. She said, you've got to go through the darkness. You've got to get through there. Mm-hmm. And so she kept pushing me. And then she started shining a light for me and she helped me walk through it. And I ended up just taking a step out into what the only thing I can describe it as, because it was like sunshine, on the next level. It was just love, but it was this really bright light. It's what I like to envision it will be like when I cross over. And I just stepped into it and I just felt warm and more loved than I'd ever been in my whole life. Oh. And I knew that I just had to get through the darkness to find that. And it felt like that was Kenadie's light. And that was source, God, whatever you feel connected with. And it was like, they promised me that I would find it. And I wanted to find it while I was still here on earth. And I feel like that's what's going on. So the darkness still can kind of take over. There's some tough, it would have been Kenadie's graduation a few weeks ago. That was a tough time for us to get through. Some of those things really still hit home and they're really, really tough, but the light never completely fades away. And the stuff that we have learned and the way that we're living so connected, we can get out of the darkness really quickly compared to what it was before. And it's just not as overwhelming. And I know a way through. And sometimes I just have to sit in it for a little bit. And then I'm ready to move beyond it. But I think that's all healthy. And I think that's important to also talk about because it's not always rainbows and sunshine and, there's ups and downs, but that's why I'm here. So I guess, give me all of it, but as much tools to go with all of it is appreciated.
I think the key there is there's always a way through it. There's always a pinhole of light because there are times I think people feel just only darkness and there's no hope at all. But knowing this and knowing energy never dies, so there's no way a person can ever die. They're energy. And and if we can find those spaces of light, those pinholes of light or those pinholes of joy, oh my gosh, they carry so much power with them. I was just having this conversation with a friend this morning that I'm human and I get angry and I get, kind of jerky or whatever.
Sure.
But none of it sticks. And I get really sad, but none of it sticks anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
I navigate through it quickly. And I think that's what you're talking about. You have so much wisdom and knowledge to share with people that are going through what you've been through. And I'm making such a huge difference on the planet, Rachel. And you can thank Kenadie for that.
Absolutely.
Because she has brought you here. She has brought you to Fear Unzipped and everywhere else. Thank you, Kenadie. Thank you, Kenadie.
Yeah, definitely.
So how does your husband navigate through all of this? Because we all experience grief differently.
Sure. We have been really lucky in the sense that we both believe in the same things and we both have turn to similar things. He doesn't do as much meditation as I do. He doesn't dive into, I like to read cards. I like to, I do these sorts of things, and he's more of, oh, let me know what it said. Like, he's open to that sort of stuff, but he's not going to dig out some decks of cards and flip them over himself. But I love that he is open-minded like I am, because he grew up in the same teeny little town that I grew up in, and he's a commercial fisherman, and he just wasn't raised in that sort of environment, which I think is so important, that he's in the 411 space too. And that's what he's always, and he's like he's the quietest guy, the most reserved, shy, doesn't like to speak in public sort of guy. And from the very beginning, he was like, no, I've got something to say. I think I'm supposed to share my story to it. He was like, it can't just be you. It has to be me, because there's men out there grieving too. And he knew. And he hasn't been able to be as big of part of it because of the other business that we're running. But when he steps forward and he shares his story, it always really hits home with people. They love that he's a part of the space. And so we're looking forward to the future when he gets to be a bigger part of it. But it's been good for both of us that we can lean on each other. There were times, especially in the early days, where I feel like we would take turns, being in the really dark place, because especially because we had another child. And so one of us needed to step up each day and raise that child and be there for her as much as we could. And so I noticed that, on my really, really dark days, he would be lighter. And then we would kind of balance that out, which is tough on a marriage, because we were never in the bright space together. And so that went on for a while, but we gave each other a lot of grace. And I feel lucky that I can look back now and say that I think we've grown together through all of this and have gotten closer, and feel really blessed and lucky for that, because I know that that's not how it always goes when a couple lose a child. So I'm grateful for that. But I think a big part of it is that we do have a similar belief system around all of this, because it would be really hard if I felt like I was connecting to Kenadie and learning how to live a new life with her in it. And if he was not believing that, that would be very difficult for me.
100%. Definitely. I've heard stories, I think Susanna's even shared, where she'd be doing a reading and the man would come in and say, this is absurd. And then all of a sudden his mom comes through, or somebody, and he's going, what? And starts crying uncontrollably. And it's that little shift. You just need the shift. And I always say on here, skepticism is a good thing.
Yep.
Because people can really play with your emotions. So it sounded like you went to the right people to open up. But Kenadie sent you there. So
she did.
Do you know, my guide said to me the other day, because I was just having a little chat, and I was talking about social media and numbers and things, and doing this podcast, always wondering, like, why am I really doing this?
Sure.
But I know a huge part of it is meeting people like you. My life is so much more enriched because I'm now, no, it's true that now I'm meeting you. And they said to me, Sandy, it's not about numbers, it's about resonance. And that we're bringing the people in that are going to resonate. And how beautiful. And that's what happened with your 411 Instagram page, because it blew up. It has just blown up.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But it's because it's being guided. People are being guided to you. I'm curious what your extended family thought about you and Shane getting pretty into this metaphysical world. Did it bother them? Did they accept it? Did they, put their arms around you with it?
Yeah, they did. We've had a lot of support, even I would say from friends or family that aren't into this side of life at all have been very understanding. And I think everyone that loves us loves loves the transformation that they've seen in us. So I don't think they care how we got there. I think they're very, very happy that that we've found more peace and joy and love and all the things in our lives because they saw the other side of it. They saw the really dark time, and they saw us going through that. And I think that I can only imagine how much that hurt them because they love us to pieces. So, you know, seeing us so brokenhearted, I'm sure was devastating for them. So, you know, most of them are pretty open-minded to it, but not one person has said anything negative to us about it at all. And in fact, a friend of mine, I just love her to pieces. And she grew up in a very religious household, still is. And a lot of the things that I talk about are things that, you know, she doesn't feel connected to at all. But because she loves me, it has made her sit with it and really think about it. And she says that she can now see the connection between her beliefs and my beliefs in every single thing that I talk about. She says there's been some things that have tested her that I have said, and she's like, But because she loves me so much, she's like, I just love Rachel. So if she believes that, I wonder why, because, you know, it doesn't feel right to her. So then she sits with it for a while, and then she comes around and she understands it more because she's trying to be open-minded to it. And I think that that's a good lesson for all of us. And the other person that is like that is my grandma. She's Christian. She just loves all things to do with Jesus, and she is just the sweetest. I mean, I always say that I envision her with a halo over her head. She is just the walking angel on earth. She's, gosh, what is she now, 96? And she, you know, I just love her to pieces. But I was a little bit nervous to come out and tell her everything that I have been doing, and to tell her that I feel like I've met Jesus through all of this, and, you know, not through the traditional, through the Bible and through church. I found Jesus during energy healing and meditation. I was like, oh gosh, I really want to tell my grandma, but will she accept what I'm saying? Because I think that would have hurt if she, you know, didn't believe me. And she loves every one of my Jesus stories, all of the stories. But when I told her, you know, Grandma, I think I found Jesus. I've got to tell you the story. And I told her, and she said, he loves everybody. He doesn't need to find you in a church. He doesn't need to find you, you know, coming through the Bible. He found you how he could find you. And that just made her so happy. And I thought, you know, I wish everyone was as open-minded as my Grandma Shirley.
That's so beautiful. I mean, she walks the talk. So,
yes.
And Jesus for you was the Jesus consciousness, that beautiful, love, love, love.
Yes, I am in love.
Yeah.
I love the feeling that I am surrounded by whenever I feel connected. Now he's just always right there. I get to see him standing next to Kenadie and pretty much everything that I do. But the first time that I felt him, I was like, what is happening? It was just the most beautiful energy. I felt Kenadie's energy all the time, and I thought and I feel I had been working with angels. I had been feeling them, but the moment that Jesus appeared, it was just kind of next level. And I thought it was a one and done situation, but he gets to just be there all the time now. And I fully accept that.
I think it's beautiful. And you're coming at it from, like I said, the Jesus consciousness. So, which is beautiful. I mean, it's the ultimate love.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's just a lot of love. Like on the, 100th degree or 10th degree or whatever.
Right. It's almost like you can't beyond. Really put a number on it, right? Because it doesn't exist kind of in this space that we're in. Although you can feel it. Yes. And I felt that just joy. I have felt it just by looking at a squirrel or hugging a tree. I mean, oh my God, the joy. It's just, you cannot put that into words. I used to think people would say I'm crazy, You know, there's Sandy outside hugging the tree again, like the neighbor's going. And when I first started hugging trees, my neighbor one day caught me out there hugging, and then I remember just like looking up and kind of patting the tree.
Right.
Now it doesn't matter. I mean, love is everywhere. It is everywhere.
My little guy, his name's Salem. He's 2 years old. We were at my daughter Mila. She's 13 now, and she's in softball. So we're at a softball tournament that's at this park, and I'm walking around with the toddler, and he goes up to this tree, and he put his hands on it, and he looked up, and it was like he was communicating with the tree. He starts laughing, and then it was like he would stop for a second, and then he'd start laughing again, and then he just leaned forward and he placed his forehead on the tree.
Yeah.
And then just looked back up and started laughing again. And I just watched it. It probably went on for 5 minutes or so. And I put my hands on the tree. I kept saying, I love you, tree. And he would just look at me and then look back at the tree. And he was so happy. And a few days later, we were at our local Little League field. And he walked up to a power pole that looked like a tree. And he went and he put his hands on it. And I thought, is he going to do the same thing, you know? And he looked up at it. And then he just got this weird look on his face, and he took his hands off and he turned around and walked away like, oh, this isn't alive. This isn't what I thought it was. I thought, wow, he really was feeling everything that tree had to offer. And I thought that was a pretty cool experience to get to witness it through a 2-year-old's experience and eyes.
That's true communication.
Yeah.
With the tree. And they are having a conversation. They are talking, and the tree is making him giggle. And what a great story. And we just need more and more of these stories out there so people feel like they're not alone. I think that's the key here, is that so many of us feel so alone in this crazy world. And maybe you don't have a partner, maybe you don't have children, but we need to. And that's kind of my mantra, is you're never alone. What would you say to that? How would you address that when somebody says, you know, I don't have anybody in my life?
I would encourage them to find ways to feel more connected to their spirit team. If they were open-minded to that, because you have to start off with some belief. Like we were talking about, being a skeptic is healthy. And also being a skeptic makes it more fun when the magic comes in. But because if you just believed in every single thing that you ever heard of, then you wouldn't be surprised by it. I love that element of surprise when you just don't think that something that amazing can happen, and it does. It just blows you away. I mean, brings tears to your eyes, and you're just totally awestruck. And I want to live in that energy forever. I want to be awestruck for the rest of my life. But so I would definitely encourage people to tune in to their spirit team. And there's different ways to do that. Depends on what you're feeling guided to. But I would say meditation is a very kind of first step that I would encourage people to try if they wanted to learn how to feel more connected. But even just talking to them like they are your best friend. And you can do that while you're getting ready in the morning. You can do that while you're driving down the road. You can do it in your mind. You can do it out loud, just getting comfortable with them. And then you just start to feel this connection. It's like, at first you feel nuts. You feel like you're just talking to yourself and nobody's listening. But then all of a sudden you get this feeling, or you get this thought, and you're like, where did that come from? And then you start asking for proof, because I think that that's really important, or at least it was for me. Because I didn't trust myself at all with any of this stuff. Even when I first started connecting with Kenadie, I just thought I was making it all up in my mind. So I needed proof and asked her for some. And that's when I started truly believing and realizing that, oh my gosh, it really is her. And I really do have this new relationship with her. But before I connected with her, and this was also divinely guided, I found my guides, I found angels, I found other people's loved ones. I found my unborn son across the veil. You know, I got to meet him multiple times before he came to Earth. And the doctors were telling me it would be impossible to have him. And he kept showing up. And I was like, I think I'm going to have him, because why else would he be showing up? And then sure enough, right after we were told officially that we could not have another child, a month later, I was pregnant. So I felt him. He let me feel him in my belly, like kicking before he was there. It was an amazing experience. But all of those things happened before I was allowed to feel connected to Kenadie, because if I'd found her first, I would have been done with my connection journey. And so it was definitely by design that there was a process, and I had to meet certain people first and beings first, and then all of a sudden there she was, and now I'm connected with all of them at all times.
Probably because your purpose on this planet is goes way beyond one person. It's millions of people. It's just to put out that you are never alone. That is
Absolutely.
that is such a beautiful story, and that you felt your unborn baby before you were even pregnant. I was telling, I had a guest who's an animal intuitive, and I was telling her the day before our dog passed, I was sitting in a car, and he showed me this, and he wasn't with me, and he showed me this, the most beautiful space, like heaven on, I mean, it was heavenly. And I think it's what you were trying to describe earlier with the flowers and the grass and the trees. But I've never seen anything like that here.
Okay,
And
sure.
I remember saying, "Oh, George," that was the dog's name. I said, "George, oh, that's so beautiful," but didn't. And he's saying, "That's where I'm going." And I didn't. I said, "Oh, George, that's so beautiful." And then I kind of let it slide. And the next day he passed.
Oh, wow.
And it gave me so much comfort that, that space. So they're all in beautiful spaces together. Our beautiful loved ones are, including our animals, they're all together.
Yes.
So what are you doing? Can you talk a little bit about 411 and the Instagram page and some of the stories that are on there? Because I'm telling listeners and viewers, you've got to go to this page, because each one is like a movie.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
They're so beautiful. And the way you present them is so beautiful. Are there a couple that stand out to you?
Oh gosh, they all do. They're all so amazing. But did you see the one about the nurse named Diana and the baby Adrian? Or
I think so.
was it Adrian? Now I've got to think it through here, but I believe that was his name. So the woman who was pregnant with her son, her dad had passed away, and she's in the hospital, and she's having her baby boy. I'm thinking his name was Adrian, but that's it. Not, yes, we'll go with that. And so she's giving birth, and it's not going well. Her husband had been filming her. She's in the room with her mom, her mother-in-law, and the baby is not coming out. And the heart rate's dropping. And so the husband stops filming. It's very intense. And the doctor says, "I need to use the vacuum." And she said she knew something inside of her said, "No, don't let them use the vacuum." And she said she refused it. And then she pushed again. The baby's still not coming out. Everything is crashing. They said, "One more push, and then we're using the vacuum." And this nurse walks in. She's wearing all white, and she hands her a towel. And she says, "I'm going to hang on to this towel. And then you just hold on, pull it, and push. Give all of your effort into pushing that baby out right now." Okay. So she did it. The baby came out just enough that they were able to see that the cord had been wrapped around his neck. If they'd used the vacuum, that wouldn't have been a good thing. So they removed the cord. He came out. Everything was good. The room empties out. She's trying to nurse the baby, and she notices that he's turning blue again. And she says something to her husband. Her husband grabs the baby, runs out of the room, takes the baby to the nursery, and there's that nurse again in all white. And the nurse says, "Oh, I think that his suck swallow reflex is just a little bit off. Do you mind if I give him a bottle and work on it with him for a moment?" And the dad said, "Yeah, that's fine." And she had introduced herself as Diana. And then she used the bottle. Everything got 30 minutes, and he was doing great. So dad took the baby back to the room. Everybody's happy. Everybody's doing great. And the other nurse, wearing normal scrubs, came into the room, and the mom said, "Can you grab the nurse from the nursery so that I can thank her?" And the woman said, "There's nobody in the nursery tonight." And she said, no, it's Diana. She's wearing all white. She said, there's nobody on this floor named Diana. There's nobody that wears all white. We all wear scrubs like me. And they were the colored blue scrubs. And they were just all confused. And the mother-in-law and her mom and the mother-in-law, they'd all witnessed this nurse come in. They'd all seen it. But her nurse was like, I didn't see anybody in all white. So she goes home with the baby who's happy and healthy, and she's nursing him, and she's thinking about the whole thing, and she's looking at his dresser. She's in his room, she's nursing him, and on his dresser are his the blocks, the wooden blocks with his name. And she realized that if you take the letters of his name and you rearrange them, they're Diana. And she said she just knew. She was like, it was my dad, and he got to hold his first grandson that was ever born, and he helped save him. And she just had no doubt. She was like, he came as a woman in white scrubs and saved my baby's life. So I thought that was a pretty cool story.
That's an incredible story. I kind of felt the trajectory of where that was going. But everybody saw Diana. Everybody actually saw Diana.
Well, just the family.
Just
the other
family.
people in there did not.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that interesting?
And our loved ones can come in ways that we don't expect them to be in. So they could be a man, could be a woman, or
of course.
Oh my gosh, that's an incredible story, Rachel.
Yeah, that one was a neat one.
I just saw the one about the sea, the lanterns and the sea creating.
Wasn't that beautiful?
You want to share that? I mean, we could talk about these stories forever, because all it does is give us hope and make us feel like we're so connected.
Yes. A young man named Cody passed away, and his family and friends, I think there were 75 of them, went to this dock, and they released those lanterns with the lights, and they put them into this lake. And all of the lanterns went into this one area and formed this big, huge C, letter C, which represented his name. And his family knew that that was him, letting them know that he's there with them. And it was just a really beautiful moment and such a tough time for them. So I thought that was really cool. And of course, nowadays we have all this video evidence and photographic, because everybody has a phone on them. And so a lot of these stories have these powerful images that come with them. And it's really neat to get to share that out into the world and give people hope that their loved ones do still exist and are right here next to us. And yeah, I think that's so cool. A lot of times when people reach out to us and they submit a story, right after they submit the story, they get a sign from their loved one. And I think it's just them letting them know that they're totally supportive of them sharing the story and that they're still right here with them. And I think that's pretty neat. I love that.
And the sea. So you showed the video of the lanterns in the shape of a sea. It was so beautiful, and you could hear the commentary of people going, "Look at that!" It was amazing.
Yeah,
so beautiful. So, what are you doing now with your mediumship abilities and your intuitive abilities? Are you practicing anything with it with other people, or?
I'm working on teaching other people how to live this connected way. That's where I'm being guided to right now. So not one-on-one sessions, but I'm hoping to help lots and lots of people in this way through 411, because that's what they keep showing me. Even before we knew what 411 was, when I kept asking the team, what is it? They just showed Shane and I walking on our path. And at first it was just us. And then it was like millions of people all around us walking with us. And I remember telling my best friend, she said, but what is it? I was telling her about this 411 idea coming to my mind. And she said, but what is it? I said, I don't know, but we're going to be doing it with millions of people. She was like, cool. Yeah. I mean,
like, sure, Rachel.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. From this tiny little farm town. How is that going to happen? And I didn't even know how it would happen, but and not that we have millions of followers, but the stories are seen by millions of people.
Millions.
And so I think that is pretty cool. And, it's growing every day. So I really do think that Kenadie has shown me that she's guiding people. She told me she's a shepherd. So she's guiding people to the page, because I called her a messenger. I said, oh, it's like you're a messenger, putting our 411 message out. And she goes, no, I'm a shepherd. I'm bringing people to you. I was like, oh, that's what you're doing. I thought that was really neat that she showed me. It was Kenadie and this little girl that was across the veil. Her mom had reached out to me, and then I saw them holding hands, and they had brought this little girl's mom to the page, and because it would help her. And that's when she told me, she goes, yeah, I'm a shepherd. I bring people to it. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. So that's one of the ways that she's helping us with 411. And yeah, so anyways, she's showing us now we're creating this 411 community. It's going to be an app, and within the app will be the things that have helped us, like the energy healing, the energy work that changed both of our lives. Shane and I both had such an amazing experience with just one session, and he looked at me. This is how our relationship works, because he goes, oh my God, that just changed my life. And then he looks at me, he goes, you should learn how to do that. So it's not that he's going to learn how to do it, but he's like, you should learn how to do that and bring that into our lives more. And he knows me. So I dove right into that as well. So there's going to be the energy healings. I love working with cards. And I think that that's just a fun way to open yourself up, because anybody can work with cards and open themselves up to their team and feel that communication. It's just one way to communicate. And so there will be card readings in the community. I will bring in other people that can do like gallery readings, mediumship readings. And there's also going to be a course on the app that teaches people what it's going to end up being is me walking people through every single step that guided me right to Kenadie. So it's not that I think everybody else's journey needs to look like mine, but maybe there's certain things along the way that I did that could help someone else. And I really think that people are going to know what that is. They're going to watch either read it or watch the video, and they're going to go, that's the next thing that I need to try, because something's going to nudge them to give it a whirl. And then they're going to hopefully feel more connected to their loved ones or to their spirit team, any aspect of their spirit team across the veil. And so that's what I'm being guided to, is just showing people that this exists for all of us, because it is so good. I just can't scream it from the rooftops loud enough. I promise you, for instance, something in our lives right now is not going the way that we would think that we would want it to go. It's kind of falling apart. But what's cool is that Shane and I are like, oh, that's awesome, because we know that it's falling apart to let something else better come in. And to be in just a few years ago, if this event had happened in our lives, I'd be scared. I would just be terrified. And right now I'm like, oh, bring it on. I'm just so excited. And what a different way to live my life. And I don't ever want to go back to the fear girl that was always afraid of what tomorrow was going to bring, or afraid of something going wrong. Now it's like, it only looks like it's wrong, but I know that I'm going to look back and go, oh, that one. I already know that had to happen. The thing had to go wrong to push us towards the thing that's going to be so right.
Okay, well, that is such an important thing for all of us to remember, because I'm there too. I'm in the same space as you are, that when something goes wrong, I'll go, okay, I hear ya, because I'm supposed to pay attention, because something better is going to come of this, and it's going to feel really crappy while this is happening.
Yes.
But I don't, because I lived in fear and anxiety most of my life, because I was always picking up on stuff. And that has shifted. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad you shared that, because we can all be in that space that you're in, that even if the worst thing happens to you, there is some reason. I think it's part of our higher selves are guiding us to something even bigger and more important for us. And what you're doing, what you and Kenadie and your guides and your angels all doing together, look how many people you're touching, millions of people.
It's so
And
cool. It's so
it's
neat.
and you know why I think it's working is because it's not about ego. And I think it's pure intention, pure of heart. When I started to do this, and I know listeners are so sick of me saying this, I know it. I can see them rolling their eyes. Um, sorry, people. But I'm trying to stay away from ego as much as I possibly can because I worked in the entertainment industry and there's a lot of ego in that.
Sure.
And and then when doing this, I knew how much good this can do for people and bringing people like you on. I just want people to hear these stories. So I told my guides, look, this is not about me. I don't want to be centered on this is about the people. And they made it clear that as long as your heart is of pure intention and that you're putting something out in the world that really is going to be a shifter, you're good.
Sure.
And I think that's true with anybody in business, whatever they're doing. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it to make money? Or are you doing to really make a difference? And if you're doing to make a difference, I think everything else sort of comes in. It's like, I always say I want to be in flow because when you're in flow, everything else is working.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I had the coolest experience with that because it's really easy to say you want to be in flow. It's not as easy to actually be in flow. I'm going, at least not for me. I go in and out of flow. And I can feel it. I can feel when I'm fighting the universe and when things are not going right in a different way. It's like the blocks just keep coming up because I'm trying to force it to look the way I want it to look instead of settling in and just seeing what happens. But there was a time, so with 411, it's been a huge practice of surrender because we didn't know from the very beginning what it was going to be. And then things started happening and developing. And last summer was when we first had, we went from, I think, 400 followers to, I don't know, 20,000 followers in a couple weeks or something. And so we had our first jump up. And so that's when I started seeing that it was possible, that this magical thing really could happen with it. But I kept thinking, so now I should understand what I'm supposed to do with it, right? And I didn't know. And I thought, that's okay. It's fun not knowing, right? Just keep taking the steps forward, whatever. But I kept thinking, I could see kind of where I wanted it to go, but I knew I couldn't get there. I needed someone that could help me. And so I kept trusting that the team was going to guide someone to me or guide me to that person. But it wasn't happening. And I think it was October. Yep, it was the end of October. I woke up this one day and I was frustrated. I, was kind of mad at my team. I said, I have been patient. I have been asking you guys for a long time to help me out here. I'm doing all the things. I'm taking the steps without being able, I feel like I was jumping off the cliff over and over again, like taking the leap, but not getting to see what the next step was going to be was starting to frustrate me a little bit. And I pulled this card that said, I think it said healing, mystic healer. That's what it was. Mystic healer. It's this woman standing in the woods. It's a dark scene. And I thought, okay, I pulled the card. It's a beautiful card. I like the card, but it didn't really give me a ton of advice or anything. Besides mystic healer, I'm like, I'm the mystic healer. I mean, I just, whatever. So I went on with the day, but I tried to let it go. That night, we're driving home from a softball thing. We're always at a softball thing. And we're driving home and it's dark. And this car in front of us has come to a stop on a busy highway. And I'm like, what is she doing? And I look and she's got an owl in her hands. And I thought, and I love owls. I'm kind of obsessed. So I said, is that an owl? I was a little bit jealous. So I didn't get to rescue the owl, but I was like, this is neat to get to witness this. So I got it on video. She's rescuing this owl. Right. And then we head home, and the home is about 30 minutes away. And on the road coming home, we see another owl. And I said, oh my gosh, there's another owl. And so this was now the second owl. Did we see? Yeah. So the second owl. And then I said, that's weird. Cause I hadn't seen an owl in years, months, a year. I don't know. And then we pull into 5 miles down the road is where we live. We pull into our driveway and there's an owl in the tree at our driveway. Lets us pull up right underneath it. It ends up flying. I got videos of all these owls, and I thought, and my daughter's in the background going, "What is going on?" I mean, it's just, and my husband goes, "I knew we were going to see another owl." I mean, it was just this weird thing, and I thought, "Gosh, that's so strange." And when I Googled like spiritual meaning of owls, it was like you have this wisdom within you. And I thought, okay, I just need to settle down here. Like they were promising me that the wisdom was coming. I believed it. And so I thought, okay, that's great. The next day, I go to pull another card because I do this every morning. And I see that Mystic Healer card on my dresser. And before I started shuffling them, I took a look at it, and that woman is standing in the woods. There's a tree right next to her, and up in the tree on a branch is an owl. And I thought, oh, it's just this teeny little owl that I didn't notice before. And I thought that's pretty good. So sure enough, when 2 months later, the woman that could help us get to where we wanted to go was brought into my life in the most magical way possible, because that's how I live life now. And when I met her and I'm telling her about 411, she goes, "What do you want to do with it?" And I just told her all my wildest dreams, just anything that was on my heart. And I told her, I spilled it all out. I was just so honest. I mean, I felt kind of silly, but the team was telling me to do it. So I told her everything. And then I got done and I said, "But I don't know how to do any of that." And she goes, "I do." And I just burst into tears. I said, "You're the person. It's you." And sure enough, we have just been so perfectly aligned since then with everything, because what she does, she should be all about the money. It should be the driving force behind what she's doing. Anybody else, I think most people in her situation, that's the focus. But from her, she was like, "That's not what this is about at all." And I thought, you are my person. I just adore her. And so anyways, if you're in a spot where you feel like you've been patient for a long time, it's still coming. It's just some things have to line up first.
The angels pop in. I completely get that. I knew that there was an owl on that card that you didn't see. I knew that. And I think the lesson there is there are so many signs around us that people are trying, our loved ones, our guides are trying to show us, but we rush, and we don't really have time, and we're impatient. Sure. And which I get. Oh my gosh, I totally relate. But if you take the time, you'll see the signs and you light up. It's magic.
It is.
I've had so many signs with the podcast, with just so many signs that it just delights me. And I understand about people coming in, because all of a sudden I have this team. Rachel, when I started this, I knew nothing. I had nobody. I had my graphic designer, Kelly Griffin, shout out, my dear friend, couldn't do this without you. All of a sudden, these people started coming in, just like 3 that are instrumental in my life with this, that Sure. know everything that I don't know.
Yes.
But how did I find them? Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. I should tell you. Do I have a couple minutes?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, so that story, I was just going to skip over it, but it is so fun. It's totally worth listening to if people want to hear what it's like when those magical moments happen when someone comes into your life. So that morning, I woke up to a dream where the biggest snake, like the biggest monster snake out of the Amazon that you could ever envision, came down my living room window. It was outside the window. And I looked at it and I thought, uh-oh. And right then it broke through the glass and bit me. And that's how I woke up. Very intense. And the thing that I kind of woke up startled. And I said to my husband, something really cool is going to happen today. I just knew it. And right then I checked my phone. There was a message from someone that I had asked through social media. She's got a large following. She'd put something out into the world that I just thought had a good feel. And I asked her how she did it. I didn't think she was going to respond. she responded and said, actually, the person that's made the biggest difference in my life is this woman named Amy. You should check her out. I didn't even know what the woman did. So I go to her Instagram page, and it says up in her stories that she's going to be on a call in 14 minutes, a live call. You could join it here. So I thought, I don't even know what the call's about. So I hit join the call, and it doesn't allow me to join right away. I think I sent her a request and she had to accept me, which she didn't do for a few minutes. And I thought, well, if it's not meant to be, that's fine. So in the meantime, I think I'll just stay on Instagram for a few minutes so that I don't miss her message if it comes through. I go to a woman's page who puts out a reading every week, and you just pick 1, 2, or 3, and then she talks about something. I knew that if I picked number 2, that was for me, and she was going to talk about a snake. So I did. And she was like, now I'm in the Amazon, and there's this large snake, and it's all about transformation and also something to do with a dream. She's like, oh, you need to stop making your dreams so small. She was like, speak your dreams, say them out loud, dream as big as you want, and let people know about it. I thought, okay. So then after I'm done listening to that, the little alert had come through that she had accepted me. So I go on to this call, and all the people there know what they're there for, and they're all talking with her. And I'm just sitting there like, just leave. This is embarrassing, because they can see me. It's just like this. Yeah. It's a video call. And in fact, when I clicked onto it, they're like, hi, Rachel. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. So at the end, she says, does anybody have questions? And of course, these people have questions. I still don't know what the call is about. And my team is saying, ask. I was like, no way, I'm not saying a word. And they were like, ask her. So I thought, oh my gosh. So I rose my hand, and she called on me. And I said, I don't even know what you lovely ladies are doing here. You all seem amazing. But I feel like I'm supposed to tell you that I have this Instagram page, and I love it so much, and I want to help people. And I think I'm supposed to do something with it, but I don't know how to do it. And she goes, let's talk. And so she kept me on the call right then that day. And everybody else left. She and I are talking. And she said, tell me your dreams. And so I told her everything. And like I said, I didn't downplay anything, because the snake had told me to dream big. And so I told her all the biggest, wildest dreams. And that's when she said, I can help you do all that.
I'm speechless, because that's how it works.
Isn't that so cool?
That's how it works. And every time I hear these stories, or they happen to me, I am in awe and wonder. It's like I'm a little kid in a candy store, and I just go, oh my God, can you believe that happened? And I'll call a friend, because it never gets old.
I know, I have goosebumps right now, because that's the biggest part of the story. Of course, within that, there were so many connection moments that she and I have had where it's just insane, like down to, all the details. She'll say, what do you think about this? And I'll say, well, I was thinking something. And she was like, that's what I saw exactly an hour ago. And or she'll text me this one day I was working on the course that we're going to have within the app, where I help people live this connected life. And I'm working on it, and I realized that something wasn't feeling right with it. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I just thought, gosh, I need to be able to walk this path with the people, because I was doing it in a certain way, and I wouldn't be able to really feel connected to the people that were going through it. So it just kind of hit me that wasn't going to work. And a text comes through from her. She goes, can you talk right now? I hadn't talked to her in weeks. I said, sure. So she calls me. She goes, I don't know what's going on. She said, but I was told I needed to call you today. And I said, sorry, guys, I don't have time. She's very connected to her team. She said, I don't have time today to call Rachel. I'm booked out all day long with meetings. Right then, she picks up her phone. It's my contact information up on her phone, which she hadn't looked up. So she goes, yeah, I still don't have time. Sorry. And then her next meeting canceled. So she calls me and she says, I think I'm supposed to tell you that you're doing something wrong. We need to switch it, and it needs to be like this. And the second she said it, it was like, duh, of course that's what it needs to be like. I said, thank you. I was feeling this block there. I was like, okay, perfect. So then I went back to work. It was just, that's how connected we are.
It's so beautiful. And we all have that in our lives. We all have those connections. It's just opening yourself up. So I hope from this conversation that people look at the possibilities of it all, just the what ifs of it all, the possibilities. Oh my God. Well,
Yes.
Rachel, I love this conversation so much. And you know, there's so much that we could share here. I have a few questions that I always ask at the end. Can I ask you a few of these questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So my first question is, what's your number one go-to strategy when you're feeling stressed?
Oh, go outside. That's that. I don't always do it. And then when I do, I'm like, why did I not do this sooner? And so that is I'm trying to program myself for that to be kind of a number one thing that I do. My daughter, Mila, who's 13, and my husband, Shane, they're programmed to do that. They just get up in the middle of the day, we'll be inside doing something, and all of a sudden they're just outside walking the property. We have 5 acres. It's a beautiful piece of land. And they just start walking it. And I know it's because they felt it. They just felt anxiety creeping in or stressed out. And I think, why don't I do that? So that for me, when I do it, it put my feet on the ground and just feel connected to everything around me. That's what I do.
Rachel, I do that too. I'll be sitting with my husband. I'll just stand up and go outside. He goes, "What are you doing?" I have to go outside.
Yeah.
I do it all day long. I am walking out onto the grass and walking on the grass, talking to, something out there, and then coming in. So
yeah, I did that on the 4th of July because holidays are still tricky.
Oh, very.
Kenadie loved all the holidays, the little ones, the big ones. She was obsessed. She loved the 4th of July. So it was just feeling a little bit heavy. And I looked at my husband and I said, we have to go to the beach. I needed like specific feet in the water. So we went to the beach. I put my feet in the water, and my little guy, Salem, would not. he went running to the water, just to put his feet in, and he didn't want to come in. He just needed his feet in the water. Yeah. I thought, yep, I feel you, bud.
It's very healing. The water is so healing for you.
Yes.
What's one of the best pieces of advice that you've received, personally or professionally?
Oh gosh. Well, I think it was the knowledge that once I learned that I'm not alone, that I don't have to do this on my own, that changed my life. Okay. So that's the best knowledge that I've ever been given, is that I am always supported and I am always carried in it. And it makes sense because I always go to stories. This one's a short one, I swear. But when I was a kid, I was not exposed to Jesus at all. Except my mom had this poem called Footprints in the Sand.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, there's 2 sets of footprints, and this man knows that Jesus was walking with him through his whole life. And then during his toughest trials, there's only 1 set of footprints. And he says, I thought you said you were going to be with me. Why am I alone during the toughest times? And that's when the Lord says to him, you misunderstood. That's when I was carrying you.
Yeah.
And I was in meditation. I wasn't in meditation. I was just talking. I just connect whether I'm meditating or not. And I was connecting with my daughter, Kenadie, and with Jesus. And I was talking about before I knew that Jesus was with me, and before I knew that Kenadie was with me. And I called those the dark days. And I was talking to them about, during the dark times, the dark days. And he showed me a flash of single footprints in the sand. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my gosh, that poem, I hadn't thought about that poem. And since I was a little kid, and it was my favorite poem. And I realized he was carrying me during those days. And I thought, I was never alone. It was just really comforting.
Yeah, that poem moves me to tears every single time I read it or hear it. And I'm religious in any way. And I just, it's just so beautiful. What does a successful life look like to you?
Oh gosh, it looks peaceful and joyful and magical, and I feel free. Like, it just, all the good things. When I think about my dream life, when I'm manifesting things in my head and I'm envisioning it, it is just my husband and I, my 2 kids. I know that Kenadie's there with me too, but we're just driving up. We have a little cabin over in Eastern Washington, and we're just leaving our little rustic. It's like this teeny little cabin that's been in Shane's family since he was a little kid. And we take off from there, and we're just driving up into the hills, and we just are carefree and just so excited to be together, and with the windows down and the sun on our face. And I'm like, that's the dream. Just to just feel that freedom and just be out in nature as a family and just be laughing together, and the peace. Because I didn't think that was going to be in my life. I didn't think I was ever going to feel that again. So that's what I would describe.
It sounds so beautiful. Last is a sentence. In the past I was, and now I am. Sight and everything. And I also say that if people are enjoying the podcast, to please leave reviews, leave testimonials, 5 stars. It just helps everybody. And it's that community that I love so much, Rachel. I really love the Fear Unzipped community. They're very kind, very nurturing. The comments I get, they're beautiful. These are beautiful people, including yourself. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And I send you so much love. And I look forward to staying in touch.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. This was amazing. I loved it.
Yay, me too. Sending lots of love.
Right back at you.
Thank you.